We'll bring that to you later on. We know that there's a need for us to get some update in Parliament. The first Deputy Speaker, Adwoa Safos, who doubles as the chairperson of the Privileges Committee, has reacted to the claims of Sarah Adwoa Safos, stating that sanctions may be applied if the MP fails to show up in Parliament. Let's listen to that interview.
So, as to whether she has received them or not, I can't confirm. But what I can tell you is that the committee has formally written to her. We sent her a letter through her email address, through her WhatsApp number, and through her office.
So
it is obvious that...
What then would your committee intend to do?
Of course, because she has not responded to us, we will send a reminder. In any case, we have rescheduled our meetings, so we will send her a reminder.
When we spoke to her yesterday, it was obvious that she's not coming to Ghana anytime soon.
That's obvious. It's according to your view.
No, she said that when she is done with her family issues, that is when she will
But
come.
that's your interpretation. The obvious is your interpretation, so, not her words.
So, Leader, Speaker, my question is, if she does not appear before the Privileges Committee, what then happens?
The committee will take a decision.
And what would the decision be?
How can I talk about a decision when we haven't taken it? The committee will take a decision when we get there.
Would that be a breach of parliamentary procedure and parliamentary?
But if she wouldn't come to Ghana, would you consider to do a Zoom interview or whatever?
Yes, in our letter to her, we stated so, that we offer her the opportunity to interview her via Zoom. It is stated in her letter, in the letter to her, not yet. So we know that, let me say, we cannot confirm whether the letter sent through her secretary has reached her. I was surprised to read that the same person through whom we sent the letter is the same person through whom the press managed to get her to talk. So we'll review all that when we get to sit.
Her son is not well. Would the committee consider that?
How can I talk about... Let me put this on record. The committee is a court. That is the court of Parliament. And so discussing anything to do with the content and outcomes is prejudicial. I'm talking because she has alleged that he hasn't received her. So I want the world to know what the steps we have taken. But I cannot discuss the content or the conclusions. That will be prejudicial.
Well, so that's the position of the first Deputy Speaker on the matter. And what's starting and sparking all of this, it's about Sarah Adwoa Safos. She was speaking here yesterday on the Pulse when she disclosed that the committee did not officially serve her with the invite.
She was at one point Ghana's most wanted MP. She was wanted by the presidency, Parliament, and her party. They needed her to back their numbers in Parliament to approve government's most critical revenue measure, the e-levy, without which the Finance Ministry had said the economy will probably collapse. Well, for 8 months, try as they did, no one could find her. But Joy News did, and Sarah Adwoa Safos seized the moment from her base in the USA, live on a Zoom connection, to set the record straight.
My son has been unwell, and that is why I had to come here to the United States to, be the mother and the best mother that I could be. And I'm still here, making sure that all that is settled with my son and all the authorities and the school, and it's still ongoing. I've been a deputy leader of Ghana's parliament, and I know the rules, and I know that the Privileges Committee wants me to be in Parliament, but as we speak, I don't know that I've been invited.
She says the president was fully aware of her reasons for being absent.
Communication I have sent to His Excellency the President, and he's very much aware of what is happening to me and my family, and that's what I expect every Ghanaian to understand, that I am not intentionally abandoning my duties and my responsibilities. I have served the people of Ghana for 12 years. I entered politics when I was young, and I have done it. And there has not been any past record of me absenting myself like this. That should tell people that there's really something that ought to be done with family, and I know that you will put family first. So they should all start praying and keep praying for us. And I know with God, everything is possible, and we're going to pull through it.
She and 2 other MPs are subject of a probe by Parliament's Privileges Committee that may lead to her seat being declared vacant. The committee began work yesterday, but she says she has not been invited.
I've been a deputy leader of Ghana's parliament, and I know the rules, and I know that the Privileges Committee wants me to be in parliament, but as we speak, I don't know that I've been invited. I have to be served, and I'm not aware that any such thing has been given to me. I'm just hearing it from you.
So all throughout the process, when it was announced even by the Speaker that you'd be facing the committee, no official document has come to, not even your office in Ghana, communicating that to you officially?
No.
So this would then mean that you will not be appearing before the committee?
As you can see, I'm here in the United States, and I don't know that I was supposed to. I mean, if the Speaker says that you've been referred, the committee has to sit and have its own modalities of how we're going to appear, when and how, the dates, what information they're requiring, and I don't think I have all that information as we speak right now.
And that's really surprising, because just a few minutes ago we heard from Ricky Tegan, one of the members of the committee, stating that your schedule is next. So how come you've not been communicated to? Because he's quite sure that at least you are well informed about what the processes are and how the committee is going to go about its proceedings.
I'm just hearing it from you, and I got a message from my personal assistant that you guys wanted to talk to me about it, and that's why I showed up right now.
So is it true that she blackmailed the government when they needed her to pass the e-levy?
That is so untrue. And that's what I'm saying. I forgive anybody who goes out there or who went out there to insult me because of hearsay and third-party people, or people telling them what they think they know, which is all untrue. And even my personal assistant has come in to debunk all of that. And the reason I didn't come out immediately to do that is that as a seasoned female politician, when people are speaking loudly and you speak, you're not heard. And this is the time for me to explain why I kept my silence. And my silence was because it was too rowdy, it was too loud, and now everything is calm and people will listen to what you got to say.
So when will she return to Ghana to represent her people?
She's going to return when issues with family are well sorted out. And that is not something that I can predict. Since I haven't resigned, it's implied. When I touch down, I am going to do what I have to do as a minister, since I haven't been relieved of my post yet.
Adwoa Safos concludes by stating that she forgives all her colleagues, both in Parliament and in government, who spoke against her publicly.
Okay then, and there's a lot of development in Parliament as we speak, but first let me introduce Sami Obeng, Executive Director for Parliamentary Network Africa. Sami, thank you for your time. You've been with us all throughout the day, monitoring the developments. Now we know that some of her colleagues as well are wading into this, calling possibly for her resignation. We'll talk about that shortly, but let's deal first of all with the procedural matters. The concern is that she's not been served personally. The first Deputy Speaker says we'll go ahead and apply the sanctions. What does the standing orders say in Parliament about the situation, for instance?
Good afternoon. So the orders of Parliament are very clear on issues of service of sermons to anybody who is supposed to appear before Parliament. And for the benefit of your viewers, let me read Order 205. Order 2051 says, an order to attend or to produce documents before a committee, so in this case we are dealing with the order to attend, shall be notified by a sermon signed by the clerk of the House or a committee and issued by the direction of Mr. Speaker or the chairman of the committee as the case may be. And we heard the chairman said that that particular summons had been issued. But 2052 says that the sermon shall state the time and when, or the time when and the place where the person summoned is required to attend, and the particular document which he or she is required to produce. And it goes on to say, interesting, and this is the very part that is of interest to me. The sermon shall be served on the person mentioned therein by delivering to him a copy thereof, or by leaving it at his usual place of abode with some adult person, or where this is not known, by publishing it in the press. A sermon under this order may be served by an officer of the house or a police officer.
And that last part you just read there, perhaps may conclude the matters, right? The fact that the controversy as to whether or not she's been served personally. Well, she's challenging that, indicating that if you look at it critically, I know the rules, I have not been served.
Well, and of course, she mentions a number of times she being a former leader of the House. Of course, she's a lawyer. These standing orders are easy to read. How does one get served? You get a letter in your known premises. And this is for people like you and I who do not have known offices in Parliament. She has a known office in Parliament. The press, which includes your colleagues, have indicated that information from the Privileges Committee indicates that letters had been served to her office. We know from the chairman of the committee that letters had been served from what you just played. We know that some of these letters were even sent via email, via social media, WhatsApp. And so in my opinion, it satisfies all the requirements for service of a summons to appear before a committee of Parliament. So I think she may want to rethink that position.
So what you're advising is she needs to show up?
She must show up because, you know, as the chairman of the committee mentioned, and as you are very much aware, committees of Parliament are akin to the High Court, and the Constitution and standing orders of Parliament clearly stipulates, you know, what you must do if Parliament summons you, and indicates what will happen if you do not show up.
Sami, you'd have to stay with us. It's a long day. There are so many reactions we're getting from Parliament already. But let's speak to one woman who's worked closely with Sarah Adwoa Safos and also is ranking on the Gender Committee in Parliament, Helena Joy. So she's joining us now to share her thoughts with us. Thank you so much for joining us. So some of your colleagues already in Parliament have shared their thoughts on this matter with a call on the Member of Parliament to resign. You've worked with her even at the Women Caucus level. What's your prescription to this impasse? The fact that we're not making any headway, we're not getting any solution, and Ghanaians are wondering what the way out will be. Honorable Ntoso, if you can hear me, I'm asking what you think about the way forward and how we could possibly resolve the matters.
Okay, good afternoon to you and good afternoon to our listeners. The way forward, that is a mother and she has children to take care of. You know, apart from parliamentary duties, she knows that for a fact. And that's why she you know, becoming a member of Parliament, she knows that she's gotten some other responsibilities. Notwithstanding that, this is a woman that we all know. She's, you know, she's educated, well educated. She's a lawyer. She knows exactly what to do, you know, when and at what time. She's been in Parliament. This is her third term. She knows the procedure, what she has to do. If she cannot continue, she's got to resign. But she's written officially to the Speaker. That's what we are told. So if, and we know that if you have spent yourself for 15 parliamentary sitting days, then you've got to call it a quit. Parliament will make sure that you do not come to Parliament again, and maybe a by-election will have to be, you know, done in your constituency. And that's the reason why three of them, a Speaker has referred three of them to the to a committee, you know, to address this issue as to whether
we're focusing on her because of her unique circumstance. She talks about the fact that, well, my children are involved here, at least the child is involved here, and I need to see to that as a good mother. These are her words. Definitely you'd want to try and solve the problem before you get back to work. So from the Women Caucus perspective in Parliament, how are you receiving this? And you're also a mother as well. How are you weighing and balancing all of the matters?
Yeah, that's what you know. I think as a woman, you know, that's why I started by saying that coming to Parliament, you know that you have other responsibilities apart from parliamentary duties. So in course of her duties, if her child has fallen sick, can't we at least sympathize for one, sympathize with her that she's absent because her child is sick, and she's got to be with her child. As a mother, I'm a mother. If my child is sick, doesn't mean that I should make it a quit in Parliament. I mean, Ghanaians will have to sympathize with her as long as she's saying that it is because of her child who is sick. If it's really true that her child is sick, why don't we sympathize with her and pray that God will heal her child so that she will be able to come back to Parliament?
Yeah,
do we have to punish her because her child is sick?
But when you say that, Ghanaians will say, this is someone we voted into Parliament, at least she has the option of seeking treatment even here in the country. With regard to the child, we don't know exactly the condition. And also, she also has the option of shuffling between Parliament and going back to the US from time to time as medical experts deal with the case. So that's also an option, isn't it?
Yeah, it's also an option. But there were other people who are not complaining of taking care of a child or children, but they've equally absented themselves for 15 days in Parliament. So why are we not talking about that? Why are we talking about the lady who is taking care of a child? Because the child is sick.
This is a very controversial matter you're raising here, particularly as we know that the first Deputy Speaker has spoken. He says that they would go ahead and apply the sanctions. As the women group in Parliament, are you willing to go ahead and appeal on her behalf, plead with leadership of the House to at least intervene in the matter?
Sure. We've got to do that. We've got to do that. And we also speak to leadership, you know, to temper, you know, messing with justice. We know that she's been away for some time now. But, you know, as a ranking member for, you know, the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection, in the first instance, she's not been treated fairly at all. She's not. You know, she was really struggling at the ministry. She's not been treated fairly. And if her child is also sick and she has to be away, even if she comes back to go to the ministry, we all know for a fact what is happening at the ministry.
Do you have some information that perhaps the public is not aware of, a reason for which she's struggling so much, the words you're using now?
No, I'm saying that apart from her child,
yes,
who is not feeling well, she's not been treated fairly. Government, the president, has not treated her fairly. I'm the ranking for gender, so I know what I'm talking about. She's not been treated fairly.
How?
So if her child is sick and then she even comes back, amount of about 1 billion was approved for the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection. Ask the Minister for Finance whether he's released any money to the ministry. Very soon we'll be looking at his budget review. And if 1 billion has been released to or approved for the Ministry of Gender, and to today nothing has been released to the Ministry of Gender. The last time we went to the ministry was about 1.5 months ago. No releases to the ministry. So if you are a minister and you've got to look at lead programs, you've got to look at school feeding, women are demonstrating, For 2 terms, they've not been paid, and then you come and sit at the ministry like somebody says I don't want to use in a West that will not be good for listeners. But what I'm saying is that I'm seriously concerned about her child that is not well.
Okay, so
I'm bringing these other issues because I know what's also going on in the ministry, and I say she has not been
right. So you have background information. At least the opportunity is here. The president is here to act on the matter. Sarah Adwoa Safos herself says the president is the final authority to decide on this matter. If the president were to be presented with the option of asking her to resign or firing her, what will be your message to the president on this matter?
My message to the president of the Republic of Ghana is that he hasn't treated Honorable Adwoa Safos fairly at all. At all. Because I know that he knows that I know. Because I'm the ranking member of the gender committee. He hasn't treated Adwoa Safos fairly. And if he thinks that what Adwoa Safos is not doing right, he should come out. I dare the president to come out.
You're daring the president?
Yes.
But this is the same president who you said on the floor of the House, Parliament specifically, that he is, quote, a lover of women. That's what you said about the president.
Yeah, because I quoted from his 2021 Sona address.
Yes.
I quoted from the Sona address. And that's why I use those words.
So that would be a mismatch, isn't it?
That would be what?
A mismatch if you say that the president has not treated her well.
No, if I say the president is a lover of women, because I quoted from his Sona address for 2021, and then a woman that she has appointed is having difficulties coming back to Parliament because her son is sick. Won't the president come out to say that, look, I've gotten a note from this lady explaining why she's absented herself, for the president to come out to say that I agree to her. I agree to the memo that she sent to me that the son is not well, so people have patience and sympathize with her. Or it's been too long, so I'm not going to accept this anymore. So I have fired her. For Ghanaians to know that, yes, president is not in favor, so he's fired her, or president is in favor because he's sympathizing with her as a woman. These are two options.
Okay, then.
And the honor lies with the president. And then from there, it comes to Parliament also. Whether Mr. Speaker has really received a letter from Adwoa explaining her circumstances, and whether we should start, the procedure of letting her go. We're waiting. Some of us, we're waiting patiently.
All right, then.
To force the outcome of whatever will take place at, the Privileges Committee.
Right. So we'll wait to see what the outcome will be. I'm grateful, Honorable Helen Ntoso, for joining us.
Yes.
Sami Obing is the Executive Director for the Parliamentary Network Africa. Sami, if you're still with us, I want us to briefly take a listen to the reaction from Parliament today when my colleague Parker Wilson engaged some of them on the recent developments on this matter. So take a listen to that, and then we'll come back to you, Sami, to get your thoughts on the concerns of the MPs.
Clearly, from what she's saying, she has a genuine concern, and as a colleague, it's important that we also appreciate the fact of family. Obviously, if somebody is talking about family, it is important that you take a critical look at it, because after this job, she'll go back to her family. We all go back to family, and obviously, if she has a family problem that needs her attention, I think, it's in order to grant her that leeway. However, it is also important for us to also appreciate the fact that her constituents will need her to represent them adequately. So we need to find a way of blending that too, that family issues and the parliamentary job, so that the constituents will also have their say in parliament, as well as she will be able to also resolve some of the family issues. So I strongly believe that obviously it is in the hands of the leadership and the party to take it up, to know exactly what to do. But
they are legitimate, very legitimate comments and observations. But as a colleague member of parliament, I really sympathize with her and sympathize with the situation, because, and her situation makes it even more complex because she was a former leader. So if backbenchers or members were having these challenges, how would she have handled it? And so the whole thing is quite complex. And I wish she could actually come down, meet the committee, meet leadership of the party, meet leadership of parliament, and conclude. You see, you can't take permission forever. For that, it's impossible. And you don't have this, you don't go into a situation where you are forced to be pushed. I would rather prefer her to jump. She should take the lead and jump, because from the way she spoke, I listened to her. In fact, I've listened to her 3 times.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. And first, I must commend Joy FM for trying to get her for us.
You've been struggling to get her. You managed to find her.
You've done well. We must commend your station for that. Yeah. And I was worried on the aspect of she has not gotten any communication from the committee. And you can see
I did my checks with Parliament. They said that is false. They have made an arrangement to contact her. They've served her through all the available channels.
I even understand they are even ready to communicate with her the way you did.
This matter is a very controversial one, and I will be a bit circumspect in my commentary, especially because she is speaking from the perspective of a woman. And if you check our laws in this country, there are times that a woman, after giving birth, is given some few months to stay home, even as a public servant. And so it is not anything new. But the question is to the extent to which this has dragged, especially when he is a representative of the people of Dominican Benya, who also want to ensure that there is some amount of representation for them in Parliament. Now, she gives the indication that there is a certain kind of conflict between her family issues, and for that matter, she is not able to do what is desired of her as a minister and a member of Parliament. I think that Adwoa needs some attention. If you look at the commentary that is coming, she needs some attention. She needs.
What should the party do?
She needs attention.